Hello there, friends. Thank you for joining me for part 3. I've got that needle threaded, and we're going to take a look at bringing that bobbin thread up. When we inserted the bobbin into the bobbin case just a bit ago, we left the thread tail sticking up through the little notch in the plate there. I'll adjust this out just a bit so we can see that needle area better. There we go. And the needle is threaded, as you can see, from left to right. The hook on this machine picks up on the back of this needle here. Hold the upper thread in your hand, and with the hand wheel on the right of the machine, turn it over towards you and make a full revolution until your take-up lever is back at the top. Take the top thread and give a pull, and you'll see that the white thread is now in between the toes of the foot, and we can take either the tip of your scissors or a little stiletto and pull that through. So now we have both the bobbin and the top thread together in our hands. These older machines, you'll see, did not have a marked stitch plate, and oftentimes we'll see where people have taken masking tape or other things and they will put down tape on the bed of the machine. Over a period of years, that really leads to a lot of damage to the machine, and it really just is not the best situation. You'll notice that the machine has a couple of holes here. They're not to be mistaken for oil holes. These are actually screw holes. And a lot of the old machines had a seam guide. It would look like a T, a letter T. It would be a bar that would have a portion here, and then the stick part of the T would come across and would have a slot. And you could put a screw and push closer to the needle or closer to the presser foot for a narrow seam, or pull back for a wider seam and use your seam guide or a tape measure to get that measurement. Since this doesn't have one, what we could do is purchase something, again, a vintage seam gauge and screw from eBay or another source, or again, the Featherweight shop also sells various different seam guides. They have one actually that's a acrylic square, and it comes with a portion you can stick under the needle, so say whether you want a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, 5/8, whatever you want, and then the other portion can be slid to that and screwed down on the bed of the machine. Otherwise, you could use a magnetic seam guide on it as well. If you find that you've got a seam guide but you don't have the screw that goes here, actually the screw that fits the foot is the same type of screw, the threading is, that fits here. So again, there's different online retailers and eBay that you could find an original Singer thumb screw to go with your particular seam gauge. So I hope that's of an encouragement to you. A lot of times that's intimidating when we see that plate with no seam guide on it. The other thing, this being a low shank foot, most modern low shank presser feet will work. Just make sure that they are quite narrow, because the feed dogs are narrowly spaced on this as well. So that's a lot of chatter about something you may not wanted to know, but thought it might be helpful to you. Back us out a little bit here again so you can see this. Again, the right hand side of the machine is where the stitch length is. So if it's pushed all the way down, we would get quite a long stitch length. Somewhere in the middle would be probably what I would keep for my seams. For paper piecing, I'd go up to a higher number, and then to sew in reverse the very top. So let's see it stitching a long stitch. I have it on the furthest position down. I'm going to place my fabric under it. Do hold the thread tails when you begin stitching. And make sure that the take-up lever is in its highest position when you go to remove the work. If it's somewhere in this travel, you may have 3 threads come up from the bobbin plate, and that is because that the machine was in mid-stroke of making yet another portion of a stitch. So this was our first seam with the longest stitch length. I'm not sure how well that's showing up, but this is quite a long stitch length. This would be great for basting. I'm going to come to the stitch length. You can't see it on camera, but I'm going to put it up about midway of the stitch length guide. Actually, I put it up a little tighter than I thought I did, but you can see that's a pretty small stitch. I'm going to come down a little bit on it. And let's try the back tack. I'm going to push the stitch length lever all the way to the top and come back to where I was stitching, bringing it down. And so that would have secured the stitches. I've made sure that the take-up lever is in the highest position, and remove our thread and our work. And actually that first pass I did, I must have raised it to its shortest length, so I'm not really liking that. I'm going to go ahead and just test that again. Put it at a length that I think I'm going to like. Not so long, but not super teeny short. And that does look much better. If I feel like too much of the white or too much of the red was going to the bottom, what I would do is turn the tension knob to a greater value, like 5. So that's going to pull higher to the top. And I'm going to see how this stitches look now. Again, that's still some very small stitches where I was at, so I'm going to go down a little bit longer. This was our last row of stitching. And oh yeah, that looks so much better. Got a lot of that little red going to the bottom. Now we just barely, if anything, see anything. So I'm really happy with where that's at. So when you're working with the older machine, or maybe even your modern ones, if you're running into trouble with bird's nest on the bottom, a lot of times what it is you've missed the thread upper tension disc, or they're not seated properly. So do a couple of rows of stitching. And if too much of that top thread is going through to the bottom, increase the number of the dial, if you have a dial, to a greater value. And it may need to be adjusted per project, especially depending on the weight of your fabric and the types of threads that you're using. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. It's been fun to do, and excited to get this back to its owner. This particular machine belongs to a friend, and it was a machine that was her mom's. So it's exciting to see that be able to continue on in their family. Again, thanks for watching, and come back to my page occasionally. There'll be new videos posted. The particular bobbin winder on this machine is different from some other 66s, so even though you may have a model 66, yours may be a little bit different. Enjoyed doing this, and see you guys soon. Bye.